Welcome to this week's edition of the Seekonk Speedway Race Day Rewind, produced by Souza Media. The Seekonk Speedway podcast series is a production of Seekonk Speedway and Souza Media. For more information on Souza Media, visit kylesouza.com. And for more information on Seekonk Speedway, visit seekonkspeedway.com. My friends, welcome to the Seekonk Speedway podcast series for the 2022 season. This is the first of many over the course of the season. I don't know if you're listening to this one first. If you are not, this may be the second or third you've listened to in 2022. However, it is exciting. That is the best way to say it. Race season is here. The 2022 season at Seekonk Speedway about to take full speed coming up here on Sunday, May 2nd, NASCAR opening day, as we get ready for our 76th season of competition at the Action Track of the East. So many exciting things going on at the track outside of just the racing on the track. Of course, this year we've got our Seekonk Speedway Drive for the Cup playoff system presented by Sunoco Race Fuels. Basically what that is at the end of August, we'll take our top 8 drivers in championship battles on NASCAR Saturday, and those will become the 8 playoff drivers in each division. One of those 8 is going to be the 2022 champion in their respective division. Then, after the first round, the top 6 out of those 8 in the first race advance. Then, the next round after that, the top 4 out of those 6 that are left advance to the final 4, and we will have the final 4 for the Seekonk Speedway Drive for the Cup in 2022. The winner of the final 4 will be the winner of the championship. It's similar to what NASCAR does. The driver that finishes first out of those 4 in the last race is your 2022 champion. This podcast specifically, we are going to preview the 2022 season for the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks at Seekonk Speedway. This should be exciting to see over the course of the year what this division does. Of course, last year, really the first year of the new trucks, the new style chassis that have come in. We've still got some drivers running the old style chassis, but a lot of them are transferring over to the new. There's some more new ones coming in this year. Named like Rick Martin, of course, a former Pro Stock winner who picked up his 100th career Seekonk Speedway win last year. He is going to be a major threat when it comes for the championship in 2022, I think, of the sport trucks. And he's got a brand new truck, so we'll see how he does. But again, a mix between some of these new trucks and some of the older trucks, and that's what makes it exciting out there in the track for 2022 to see who's going to have what in the sport truck division. The sport truck division, again, in 2022 is presented by Chaz's Auto Body. You can visit them for all your auto body repair needs. Great people over there. Chaz and his team take care of you. We appreciate them coming on board again in 2022 and sponsoring the Seekonk Speedway NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks. Man, that is a mouthful. Now, the podcast series for the preview perspective here, these podcasts are a little bit shorter than some of our race day rewinds will be because I have one for each of the divisions. So it's going to be a quick view of what's coming up in the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks in 2022. And I'm sure I'll miss a lot of things that are going to come up that we didn't think about, but part of racing, we're excited to see how it shakes out this year. In the sport trucks, I think the number one thing to keep a watch on is the championship battle, obviously. And then the second thing is how many guys can go out there and win, and are they going to be in the new truck or the older truck? That's going to be exciting to see over the course of the year, too. I'm excited to watch names like Jake Vanada, Mike Cavallero, Lenny Guy, Amy Arsenal, Brittany Campbell, Rick Martin, Dave Simpson Jr., Elias Dibb, Ethan Heilborn, Bobby Bush Jr. I mean, the list just goes on in the sport truck division. We've got a great group of guys, but and girls, definitely. But they're all chasing Barry Shaw. A dominating year last year in the Everett's Auto Parts number 85 truck for Barry Shaw. I really put the division on notice early in the year in one of those brand new trucks and kind of, I don't want to say coasted to the championship, but he had such a big lead over the course of the summer that it was really about consistency for him, and he knew he was going to be the champion, and he was when the championship battle came to a close. However, with this new playoff system, it changes the game a little bit. You know what I mean? I think the playoff system could really open the door for somebody else to jump in here and become the champion in 2022. Even if Barry makes the Final Four, if one of those other 3 drivers defeats him, then hey, it's game on. They win the championship. That's what makes this playoff system so exciting. We are not going to know who wins the championship in any of our divisions until really the checkered flag falls in each of the races, and that's going to be the case again in the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks like it will be in all the other divisions. So excited to see how that plays out in 2022. Really excited to see who's going to be the contenders to compete with Barry Shaw for the championship. I mentioned a couple. I think Rick Martin's number one. I think he's the one guy we got to watch as a championship contender in 2022. to see what he does with that brand new truck. Does he run all the races? I think he will. I think he's going to try to pull off double duty in the sport trucks and the pro stocks, and that's going to be a tough feat in itself, never mind figuring out the sport truck itself. But I expect Rick Martin to be right there when it comes time to make the Final Four. If he makes the Final Four, I'll take my bets with Rick Martin in the Final Four against just about anybody in Seekonk Speedway history, never mind just in this 1 year of sport truck racing. Rick's such a great competitor. I mean, a really hard competitor to race against. He's really fast on the track, and he really races well. So Rick Martin, to me, one of the favorites in the sport trucks. The lady contingent in this division is strong. We may have one of the best female contingents in short track racing in the whole country right here in this sport truck division, and I mean that. You got Anastasia Lebrun, an up-and-coming driver in the sport truck division, and then you've got Brittany Campbell and Amy Arsenal. These two girls are former winners in the division. Amy picked up her first win last year. Brittany Campbell has been to victory lane a couple times now in the sport trucks. Both of them top 5 in points every year. To me, this playoff system may fit them well, as again, they just have to make that Final Four, and then we'll see what happens when it comes time for the championship battle. Those two are going to be two I'm going to be watching heavily over the course of the year. I expect both of them to get to victory lane, and quite frankly, they're going to make the top 8, both of them in my opinion, and then it's going to be to see who makes it for the Final Four. I think you're going to get at least one of those females in the Final Four. That's a guess I am going to put on the table as a prediction. Right now, that's a prediction. One of those females, if not both, is going to make the Final Four. That is my prediction. So keep that in mind as the season comes along. How about some of the other contenders in this division? Take a look at a guy like Jake Vanada, who's returning full-time this year. Has kind of run a partial schedule over the last couple of years for a variety of different reasons. But I expect him to be a contender this year in the sport truck division. Car is always fast. They seem to have it figured out in the sport truck division. And, you know, I think he could be a championship contender. I think if he makes that Final Four, he's a major threat to me as a guy that could go up there and win the championship. So we'll watch to see what he does this year. Dave Simpson Jr. finished second in the Sport 4 championship battle last year. And he's planning on moving up this year into the sport trucks. Who knows what that means for him? Does that mean he's going to be a contender right away in the Chaz Auto Body sport trucks? We'll see how that works out. What about a guy like Darrell Church? Brand new truck at the end of last year, debuted it, got his feet wet. Brand new season now. He's got some off season together to get that truck together. We'll see how he does. Tim Bolger's moving up from the Sport 4 into the sport trucks this year. We'll see how he fares. Tom Scully III, continuing the generational run of Scullys, moving into the sport trucks this year in a truck owned by Rich Helger. We'll see what happens there. How about Darrell Dutch, another name to keep an eye on this year. Bobby Bush, I mentioned earlier, returning this year to watch. Ethan Heilborn, a rising star out of Swansea, Mass. Keep an eye on what he does this year. Mike Duarte, a former champion of this division, not going to run the whole year. His truck's not ready. He bought one of those brand new trucks too. See what he's able to do when he shows up. Marissa Morgan, Johnny Silva III, Lenny Guy, a veteran. Talk about a veteran. Lenny Guy's been around for many, many years. This could fit Lenny Guy great as well. If he makes that Final Four, Lenny Guy could be champion. That's going to be something to watch. Mike Cavallero, you can't really put him aside at all. I mean, a multiple-time champion of this division. Watch to see what he's going to do in 2022 in the number 80. I expect him to be a contender in one of his new trucks. He is definitely going to be a fast driver right out of the gate. I expect him to win races, and I expect him to be in contention to make that Final Four. I mean, the sport truck division is so exciting. There are so many different storylines here going into the year I think we have to watch, and we'll see what happens. It's all hype going into it to see, and we'll see what happens on the track. That's going to be the number one thing to watch. What happens when the green flag drops on Sunday, May 2nd? Who picks up the win to open the season? And who are some of the contenders going to be as the 2022 season digs along? So there you have my little spiel as we get into the sport trucks in 2022. My opinion on who might be some of these contenders. How about we move on and welcome in our first guest of the Seekonk Speedway Sport Truck podcast system here in 2022. The Sport Truck Preview. Kevin Boucher is going to join us, the race voice at Seekonk Speedway. Kevin's been around for many years as the voice of the Speedway. We'll get his opinion on what he thinks is going to happen in 2022 with this playoff system and talk to him about who he thinks some of the top contenders might be in the Chaz Auto Body Sport Truck. Stick with us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll take a quick break, and we will welcome the race voice into the show. Welcome back to the Seekonk Speedway podcast series as part of the 2022 Chaz Auto Body Sport Truck Preview. Of course, the Sport Truck Division, a NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series division here at Seekonk. This is the first of 4 division previews that are released. Of course, I don't know when you're listening to this. You may have already listened to the other ones. Whatever the case, welcome to the Sport Truck Division Preview, and welcome in the race voice, Kevin Boucher, who is going to join us for a few moments to talk about the Sport Truck Division. Last year, Barry Shaw Jr. raced right through the Sport Truck Division in a brand new truck, danced around the competition early in the year, wasn't as fast late in the year, but had the consistency to pick up the championship. This year, you got a couple more drivers coming in with this newer style truck, and a couple of females that are going to be major contenders going into the year as well. Kevin, I feel like the Sport Truck Division has grown over the last year. There's a couple more guys and girls that we're going to be watching this year, but for me, when you talk about Barry Shaw, I think he's still the favorite because of the consistency he showed last year, especially at the end of the year. Even when they struggled on speed, he was the one that was up there towards the top 5 the whole time.
Well, a lot of it had to do with the luck he had at the beginning of the season. He was able to pull off a handful of wins, and you're right, his consistency week in and week out kept him there. But when you look at the second half of last year, Mike Cavallero debuted his new truck, and he was fast out of the gate, picking up a couple of wins and really close that championship gap up. I don't know if Barry is the favorite this year on that, because you've got Rick Martin in a brand new truck, Jake Vanada with a new truck, Darrell Church with a new truck. These guys are all going to be gunning for him, and I think this is going to be one of the most competitive years in the trucks we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think the same way. I think the Sport Truck Division, as I said, I think it's grown a lot here over the last year. I know last year there was a little bit of a struggle with some of these guys running a new truck, some running an older truck, and they weren't really merging too well at the beginning of the year. The newer truck was a little bit quicker, but as the season goes along, people pick up their game with more of these conventional style trucks. And there's a couple people that stick out to me. You mentioned Radical Rick Martin, picked up his 100th Seekonk Speedway win last year in the Pro Stocks. Brand new truck for 2022 for the Sport Trucks, and man, has he been fast in the preseason testing. I expect him to contend. You mentioned Jake Vanada, another driver that's going to be right there in the Sport Truck Division I'm expecting. I look at this female contingent, Kevin, and I'll go on record saying this. To me, we have one of the best female contingents in the Northeast region right here in this Sport Truck Division. You got Amy Arsenal, graduate of our Fast Friday, picked up her first win in the trucks last year, and Brittany Campbell, who's been consistent enough to win over the last couple of years and be in the top 5 in the championship. This female contingent, to me, we very well could see what I think is the 3rd female champion in track history if somebody's able to pull it off. I'm sure you'll know for sure, but those two are right there to me as contenders.
You're right. The consistency hadn't been there. I know it took Amy a little bit to get used to the new truck and get comfortable with it, but once she did, she was a contender week in and week out. Podium finishes, top 5s regularly towards the end of the year. She is going to surprise a lot of people this year. Brittany Campbell, she is getting stronger and stronger every week. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We could see a 3rd female champion in our history this coming year.
Yeah, you've got Shelby Donovan, of course, won the championship in the Mini Cup division years ago, and Ava Schrenard did the same thing. Is that correct, Kevin? I think I'm right on that. Kevin will know. Let's ask him.
You are correct.
Okay, so you had those two females picking up championships. I could see them making it a 4th this year, or a 3rd. I'm sorry, a 3rd. I almost messed that up. A 3rd champion female in track history. I could see Amy Arsenal or Brittany Campbell being there. Couple other names here, I think, Kevin, we got to watch. Lenny Guy, and you mentioned Mike Cavallero. I mean, how can you count out Mike Cavallero? I know he hasn't won a championship in a while, but that new truck seemed to kind of put some pep in his step, in my opinion, at the end of last year. And I could see him. He knows his way around the 3rd mile. He could be somebody we're talking about going into that Final 4 as the championship threat.
Well, he's got one goal in this year, and that's to pick up his 7th championship in the trucks. And the way he ran the second half of last year with that new truck, there's no doubt in my mind he will be right there at the end. But he's going to have to contend with Rick, with Barry, with Amy, with Brittany, with Jake. There's going to be a lot of contention at the top of the standings for that truck division. And that Final Four is going to be exciting when we get down to the chase.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know about this sport truck division, I literally think this is the one where anybody could win it. We've talked in some of these other division previews that are either you've already listened to or you're going to listen to. Yeah, we can make a case for a couple different drivers, maybe getting into that Final Four and trying to wrestle it away from somebody. This division, Kevin, I have no idea who the favorite is. I really think you could make a case for 4 or 5 of these guys or girls to be the one going into that. I think that's what's going to make it so exciting.
It really is. When they first came out with the chase format over the winter, I'm an old guard, so sometimes it takes a little convincing on the benefits of it. And I can really see the benefits as I look more into it, as I read up on it, as I talk to more people. The truck division itself is going to be pick one out of the hat, because you've got a half a dozen drivers that are going to be right there knocking on the door. And one thing we haven't mentioned is that ninth driver that could make it into the chase if they're a consistent competitor and win on that final night before the chase. They're in the chase. Could be a 9-person chase, and that one driver could make all the difference.
Yeah, that's a very valid point, and something I think a lot of people have forgotten here in the playoff system. That is a very valid point that Kevin's brought up. There could be a 9th driver that sneaks in here and competes for the win. There's so many things going on here. I could see just about anybody winning the Sport Truck Championship, though. We want to thank Kevin for joining us on the Chaz Auto Body Sport Truck Division preview. When we come back, we're going to wrap the show by bringing in a driver guest. I promise it'll be one of the drivers we've spoke about here over the course of the beginning of the podcast. Stick with us, and we will welcome them in right around the break. Welcome back from the break here in the Seekonk Speedway Seekonk Sport Truck presented by Chaz Auto Body this year. Once again, thanks to Chaz for coming back on board for the 2022 season. Of course, we're wrapping the division preview for this division for the 2022 season. We spoke with Kevin Boucher. He gave you some of the guys that he thinks is going to be up there and some of the females. Again, one of the top female contingents in short track racing right here at Seekonk Speedway in this division. This driver, Jake Vanada, joins us. He is one of the many that is going to be contending for this championship in 2022. He's won multiple times in the last couple of years. Seems to always end the season well. Jake, you're probably going to want to start the season well, I think, here in 2022. Going to be one of the first years you've run full-time here in a little bit for you as we move into the season.
Yeah, this is the first year, I think, since 2016 with the Pro Stocks that we're going to be racing on opening day. So I'm excited about that. It's an exciting time of the year. Weather's starting to get warmer, and racing's right around the corner. So with that fresh cut grass, you also smell the race fuel. So we're ready to go.
Yeah, the race fuel's it's getting pretty good. We had practice last week or a couple weeks ago, depending on when you listen to this. Jake did not attend. You're going to kind of jump into this here opening weekend. What are your thoughts? You're not concerned at all, right, going into this? I don't want to say blindsided because you guys will be ready, but you're going to get on the track one day before opening day. What are some of the things you look for on that day to make sure that you're ready to go on Sunday?
Well, the first practice out, we'll probably just make sure, everything's tight and everything's good. Our truck is basically still brand new. It has 3 races on it. We've given it quite a few nut and bolts and rolled it on the scales, verified everything, changed a couple things, tried a couple things. But, as we progress through the day and the rubber gets more on the racetrack, we'll get closer to kind of testing things out handling-wise and seeing what kind of race truck we have for Sunday. But we were supposed to practice, and in the rain Tuesday kind of nixed it for us. But we're comfortable, but we're in a decent spot. Like I said, 3 races on the truck, so still fairly fresh. So we're excited. We're excited for next weekend. It'd be nice to run all weekend, be at the track all weekend. We're excited for that.
Yeah, it's going to be a fresh start to the year here. It got so many different things going on at the track. One of them is this playoff system, and we've kind of talked off air about your thoughts on it. I know there's some drivers that are 100% on board with this. Some other guys we mentioned in some of the other division previews, maybe like Vinny Renegado and Dave Darling, that dominated their respective divisions last year. You probably throw Barry Shaw in there from the trucks and Chad Baxter, really all of our Saturday champions. I could see the case they could make for the consistency. But as a driver here, we've talked about, the two of us together, there's kind of two sides to this, right? Like, you want to keep it as consistent as possible and get together to the end of the year and try to put that whole year together. But now you have the opportunity to have those mulligans, which you never want to have, but I think are a reality. When reality sets in, you're going to have a mulligan or two along the way, and this kind of helps you get into the final couple weeks with a shot at it.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings, as I've told you before, about the playoff system, but overall, I do think it's going to be a great thing for the local auto racing scene in southeastern Massachusetts. It's for, the conventional, traditional folks like kind of myself and these people that have been around the racetrack for a long time. It's very foreign. We're creatures of habit. We don't like change. But at the same time, I'm also a race fan. And I do not miss the Phoenix race for the NASCAR Cup Series. And the argument can be made that this is not, we're not a multi-million-dollar corporations racing, and it's absolutely true. But I also feel there's a balance there that needs to be struck, and we owe to our fans to stay up with the times. We owe to our fans to put on a good show every week, and I think that this system will help towards that. I mentioned to you in the past, I remember, and don't quote me directly on it, I'm not exactly a historian, but 2014, I don't think Spencer won a race in the Pro Stocks, Kenny Spencer, and I have so much admiration for that kind of a season. And that could happen again, but like to yourself, you're thinking to yourself, well, how can that happen? Because that last race, you gotta go out and win it. You gotta perform your best, and there's some truth to it. But I also think it could go either way. So, I mean, I'm excited. I think I hope those last 3 weeks that a lot of fans come out and support this. I hope the place is packed, because that's, I think, what this caters to the most is the fans. And I think as a racer, there also is benefits, not to the traditional mindset, but as you stated, you can have a mulligan or two throughout the year. There's arguments for both sides, but I think in the end it's going to be a great thing for local racing around here, and hopefully it strums up some excitement. And it's cool to see Seekonk be the first in the area, try something different. A lot of people are going to have opinions, and Seekonk wasn't shy or resistant to the opinions of the people in the area to do it, and you got to take a leap of faith sometimes. So we'll see how it goes. I hope it goes well for everyone, competitors and fans, and I think it will.
I think there's going to be a lot of things to look forward to in 2022. Obviously, you want to visit Victory Lane as many times as possible. So how do you balance that? I think making the top 8, I don't want to say is going to be easy for you in your division, but I do feel like you're one of those guys that should be there when it comes time for September. So does that change the way you drive at all, or is it simply you got to just go out there and try to win every week and kind of adapt from there as the season goes along?
I mean, we're always trying to win, obviously, but I mean, I've always, due to budget constraints and how much this can cost when you tear it up, and I fix it myself with my crew. We strive for consistency. I don't want to put the thing in a bad place. I don't want to put the nose of the truck where it shouldn't belong. So I kind of will keep that mindset this year. I mean, the last race of the season, I hope people, competitors, officials, the last 3 races really, to get to those last 3 races, I hope people, maintain a level head, because I think, it could probably bring out some ugly heads, which is excitement for the fans. That's what that translates to. And it's not always what's best for the fans is best for the racers, but in the end it is, because we need fans in the stands, and I appreciate and love them, and we need to put on a show for them. So I want to finish races. That's my first goal, and then we'll kind of build from there. We want to get to those last 3 races in the top 8, and I'm just hoping to get to the last 2, and I think it's 8, 6, 4 or whatever it is, and I'm hoping to get to the last 2 with 6, and when we get to that point, we're really going to be taking it 1 week at a time and doing our homework, because everything's going to be like a championship race, so yeah, it's going to be exciting.
I mean, as somebody that hasn't run full-time in a couple of years, I mean, kind of dabbling last year with getting the new truck. You mentioned that truck is still pretty brand new, so I feel like you're at I don't want to say an advantage, but you're in a good spot going into the year. A couple other drivers have some new trucks. But are you excited to get going here? I know outside of everything else, it's getting warmer. I mean, everybody's ready to go racing. But what is the mindset right now kind of as we get ready to go with opening day, that the winter's finally behind us? I mean, it's just got to be an exciting time for your entire team to be ready to get back out there.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's hard to believe. It's always surreal when it gets to this point, because, a week from tonight, we'll probably be looking to go grab some dinner and get ready for the weekend, or, we'll hopefully load it up by now. we'll see. Either load it this time next week or go relax and kind of get the mind right and head into the weekend with the right mindset. We're excited. I think the trucks are going to be as competitive as they've ever been. I don't want to leave anyone out, but I think, Barry obviously is a champion last year returning. He's going to, you got to knock him off the crown. I mean, that's going to be hard. Ricky Martin's got a new truck. The 52 Darlings team's got a truck. I don't know what their schedule is. Brittany Campbell, obviously, won, I think, the second to last race last year, really started hitting her stride towards the end of the year. I mean, I don't want to leave anyone out, but there's a lot of teams like Mike Cavallaro, who was as fast as anyone as the season went on last year. And then last week I saw how fast he was in practice. It's going to be fun. It's going to be competitive. I think it's going to be a lot more competitive than it was last year or probably the year before in the trucks. I think the trucks are going to be as competitive as that late model class. I really do. So we're excited, but, anxious to get going and see how it all pans out.
Yeah, as you get into the year here, Jake, I know there's a lot of people that are helping you to do this. This is not easy to do from any level, whether it be from a driver level. Obviously, it's not easy from a sponsor level, especially in this time that we live in right now, which I think is kind of, I don't want to say erratic, but it's a little bit different than what we're used to, obviously, here in 2022 with the way things work in the world right now. But who are these people? Your truck's freshly lettered up, looks great. And you're excited to get out there. Who are the people that are going to be helping you this year as this grind begins? And it really is a grind every single Saturday night, one or two off here and there as we get through each month. But this is a grind to try to get to September and have a shot at the championship.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge grind, and it's impossible, frankly, to do at I believe at a real competitive level without support. And support comes in all forms. Support comes finances. Support comes in, help on the truck. Support comes in running errands. Support comes in moral support sometimes. Yeah. It comes in so many different ways. And I mean, my sponsors, a lot of them are returners. Some of them are new. I got to thank Viking Sheet Metal, Brad Ness, JDV Productions, my brother Josh, and in his modified production outfit, Bumper to Bumper Accessories, George Palilio, Dunkin' Donuts, Atlantic Cafe, Hawkins Brothers Auto Repair, Ham's Chassis and Snouts, Haggerty Construction, Gesner Auto Sales, and Jimmy Cassidy from Simple Sign Works, who just did a tremendous job of lettering the truck. I'd like to, my individual guys who are huge is my dad owns the team. This is all his money that goes into this. I'm so grateful to have him. And without him and all these guys, I'm really not doing this, and I mean it. It's just too much for us to sustain. And I got to thank my crew, the rest of my crew guys, Ron Boris, Dave Gilbert, Jay Daniel, my wife, my mom. And we kind of want to take a minute and dedicate this season to Bob Malone, who was a car owner for me, drove our hauler. I mean, he didn't miss a race before his passing, basically. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. In the 19 years he was with us. This is our 20th season, so we're excited about that. And in that, we're going to celebrate Bob, his life, and his tenure with us. I also want to thank Chaz's Auto Body for returning. We're nothing without these people supporting us. So we hope we can go on and put on a good show of Chaz's Auto Body, all my personal sponsors, my crew, and we'll see what happens. It should be an exciting year.
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be exciting. Definitely excited to get going. Jake, we appreciate a few minutes to join us here in the season preview podcast. As the people that are listening know, the podcast has a bunch of different guests over the course of the year, including feature winners. I am pretty positive we will be chatting with you at least once or twice more here as we get down the stretch. We wish you the best of luck, and we'll see you at the track here real soon.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll see you at the track. Kyle, take care. Thanks to all the fans out there, and we'll see you next Sunday.
All right, that's been Jake Vanada. Thank you, sir, for joining us here in the season preview for the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks. And with that, that's going to do it for the Chaz Auto Body Sport Truck season preview. Jake mentioned a lot of names. There's so many on the list in the Sport Truck Division going into 2022. Kevin Boucher gave you some of his picks. Some of my picks, it's too early. Let's talk about that maybe August or maybe the beginning of September when we get down to those 8. We'll jump on here and talk about that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us on the Sport Truck Podcast. Beginning to check on the rest of them. The Sportsman Division, the Pro Stocks, and the Late Models also are going to be out, so listen to those division previews, and we'll see you at the track here. Remember, if you want to buy your tickets ahead, you can buy them at SeekonkSpeedway.com, or you can buy them at the gate. We will see you on race.